This message is for the under-earners. You know who you are. It took me dropping out of 7 colleges and struggling with addiction and an eating disorder in my teens and 20s before I finally surrendered and committed to sticking through school no matter what. And even then, I moved to Costa Rica with my family and built a multi-six-figure transformational coaching company. And you might think after that, I had this problem handled. Yet after my biggest month in sales, $100,000 in revenue, I manifested a family rift that sent me into emotional turmoil for months. So I've been teaching about manifesting our dreams and creating a life of true affluence for over a decade. However, my relationship with money was like a toxic love affair. When buckets of money hit my bank account, I couldn't spend quickly enough. And I knew that there was something wrong. So all this time I became obsessed with how we heal these intergenerational patterns and earlier childhood trauma. And so it's been my life's work to heal myself and help other entrepreneurs, visionaries, and creatives to heal too. Because under-earning is about undervaluing ourselves, there's a direct correlation between the amount of money that is coming into and staying in one's bank account and how we value ourselves and our openness to receive. Once I became radically honest to see the under-earning pattern, sought the right mentorship and support, and downloaded the energy tools to shift it, and moment to moment turn this over for divine support, this pattern no longer dictates my life. Because under-earning is merely a flawed program that is running your operating system. Under-earners have a warped relationship with money that affects their ability to earn more, to receive more, to maintain and sustain wealth, because they're addicted to struggle and chaos on an unconscious level. So if affluence is inner freedom, then the self-sabotaging pattern of under-earning blocks one's ability to create and maintain wealth, and the ability to consistently go after their dreams, and one's ability to attract and receive opportunities. As long as we allow this program to run our operating system, we are condemned to scarcity and struggle, or at best, knowing that we're living beneath our full potential. And it costs us money, opportunities, and fulfillment. But under-earning doesn't merely plague the poor who struggle with money. It often affects millionaires as well as paupers, the college educated, as well as the high school dropout, both the trust fund baby and the worker living paycheck to paycheck. I've worked with thousands of clients over the past 13 years, and I've observed that there are 2 kinds of under-earners, the underachiever and the high achiever. I've worked with many high achievers who are under-earners, making 6 figures and 7 figures. One client, let's call Sarah, would reach out for a session every time she reached the upper limit of her financial goals, because in the past, she would sabotage her success and was self-aware enough to know it. Before our work together, it would seem like something just happened, like a family crisis that would divide her attention and energy, and she would be distracted from her goals, or hiring a toxic business partner or an employee that would floor the growth of her business. So we focused on clearing the emotional blocks and limiting beliefs and the under-earning programs, and on recalibrating her to her truth. And over 3 years, she grew from $15,000 monthly revenue to $250,000 monthly revenue, because she upgraded her mindset, healed the childhood patterns that once held her back. For underachievers, it requires an identity level shift to start behaving like a high achiever. It reminds me of a client I worked with. Let's call her Mary. She was a sex worker who wanted to be an energy healer, but because of her childhood trauma and the financial chaos that she experienced, struggling to pay the bills, she felt stuck. As we worked to shift the limiting beliefs and emotional blocks, she was able to transition out of that job and do the work that she really loved, which was serving others. This isn't a value judgment about being a sex worker. The question is, do you love the work that you do? Do you feel that how you currently serve the world is the best use of your skills and talents? And are you making more than enough to meet your and your family's needs? This, my friends, is freedom. Our planet is shifting to a new paradigm, and old systems are falling away. We are living in the age of information, and it is predicted that with artificial intelligence could take away 60% of jobs. What we are birthing is a creator economy where the barrier to entry is so low. You just need a smartphone and access to the internet. If you want to know how to change your life, change your reality, there's a plethora of knowledge, mentorship, guidance at your fingertips. You can learn how to be more productive, how to change a habit, how to manifest a desire into physical reality, how to create 5 figures, 6 figures, or more by sharing your gifts with the world. The abundance of opportunities is ripe for the plucking, but there is a disease of under-earning that afflicts many creators, healers, coaches, artists, writers, and more. And unless you address this, creating the financial freedom that is touted over the internet is but a pipe dream. Affluence, defined as inner freedom, is our birthright. However, we cannot truly experience the affluent life if we are still enslaved by this program of under-earning. I am on a mission with all of us to eradicate this program of under-earning so we could be free. I'm sharing this because for many would-be creators, solopreneurs, healers, coaches, creatives, it may be the missing piece that has hampered your income earning and success, because it is a particularly pernicious kind of self-sabotage. Address this rogue pattern in your operating system, access a spiritual solution, and become free. Without this bondage of self, which is holding you back, you'll be able to step more fully into the best version of yourself. You're free to manifest the life your true self desires for you. Abundance is on the other side. But first, we must address the 3 biggest mindset blocks to under-earning. First, what stops many under-earners from taking the necessary steps to up-leveling their money flow is they unconsciously subscribe to the victim stories from childhood. This belief, I cannot change. The thing is, we live the stories we tell ourselves. If we're so committed to our story of our past and being an under-earner, we cannot let it go. Sometimes we would rather blame and have the resentment for what others did to us because it's more comfortable than facing the fear of forging into the great unknown. However, we can shift the story. So write this down. Ask this question: what if whatever happened to me was the greatest gift? The second biggest mindset block is that people do not take personal responsibility for what they're creating. The resounding truth is we are creators. We came into this world, we chose our parents, we chose our DNA and our unique intergenerational soup so that we could transmute it. Most of humanity sees the external world as happening outside of themselves because they don't have the awareness to awaken and shift out of their outer circumstances. Sometimes we can get so hypnotized by our external reality that we believe it just happens. And I get it. Sometimes it is inordinately challenging to remember this is our reality. We're creators. Yet we can do this. This is the work. Recently, I was talking to a woman who was sharing a litany of negative events that had happened in her life. She had moved into a house with mold. She developed an immune disease because of that environment. And it was just one thing after another. And because of feeling physically challenged, she was sucked into the spin cycle of the material world. The challenge is to muster up the awareness to observe, to heal the old emotional triggers and beliefs that are creating the current reality in the video game of your life, so that you can return to a state of neutrality and steer the ship. Life can be hard, I know. I have walked through it. But blaming others, the economy, the world, our parents, and even ourselves keeps us in the loop of condemnation, and we cannot break free. It's not about whose fault it is, even if you do feel guilty or self-righteous in your accusation, but to ask, what is the gift or lesson from this experience? What can I do to change today? Remember, life is like a video game. You are personally responsible for everything that is appearing in your video game. Get curious. What are the clues that the universe is sending you to shift your reality to the highest available timeline? The third mindset block is that under-earners get stuck in a loop of earning less than they deserve because they are unconsciously benefiting from the status quo. In other words, there is a payoff. They are terrified to go out of their comfort zone, and they would rather stay with this diagnosis. Andrew Deutsch, the founder of this 12-step program, UnderEarners Anonymous, he calls under-earning a micro-addiction that drives the under-earning to hide in one's metaphorical cave. It can be helpful to understand this condition as a dis-ease that affects one's connection to God, to oneself, to others, to money. And if so, so be it. However, be cautious of wearing under-earning as a badge, because if you do, you end up creating what Dr. Joe Dispenza calls a predictable future. Because under-earning is simply a program that is running your operating system. It does not define you. It is not your truth. And as I was writing this video and this post, I created a 5-step framework how to break free from under-earning. If you want me to cut another video about this and share it with you, comment below, be free, and I'll send the next video for you. So why am I sharing this? Humanity is awakening. Though the matrix, in other words, the societal conditioning, is an unseen and seen force that interpolates and enslaves us, accepting to live with this condition is like giving the matrix your consent to be disempowered. So just as there are forces of light that are here to support this awakening, for millennia there are also forces of darkness that aim to keep us enslaved. My doctoral research on intergenerational memories and how we heal from colonial trauma, I looked at trauma as the vehicle, which kind of in the biblical scriptures refers to it as the curse that's passed down from father to son. Let's expand that to the curse from parents to children, from grandparents to grandchildren. So if we look at trauma as a study, colonial trauma is a study from one privileged group that oppresses and marginalizes another group in order to gain power and resources through the subjugation of that marginalized group to enslave them. I want to expand this because while this is true on a structural level, how to disempower an entire population to get them to perform to serve the greed and corruption of an empire, when we expand it, let's acknowledge a more insidious way to disempower and enslave billions of people across the globe. This is executed through family trauma, like a virus that gets passed down from generation to generation, through making each child not believe in their own worth, making them feel that they're not loved, that perhaps they're abandoned, feeling unsupported, that we need to compete to survive in this dog-eat-dog world. These are distortions. And this potent virus can be replicated and spread seemingly through our own free will until it stifles our free will because we're being run by these programs on autopilot. And in a world that touts the rise of the divine feminine, how is it that we disempower young girls and women by influencing our ability to trust in ourselves, to believe in ourselves, and to focus on an impossible ideal of beauty and perfection that always leaves women wanting? So if there's a divine intelligence that seeks to guide us and return us to love, it bears that there is also a darker intelligence. Let's consider it as the mastermind intelligence behind the matrix that corrupts our innate knowing, that seeks to disempower young men and negate masculinity. But I digress. Let's leave this for another video. Let me know if you want to hear more on this topic. The celebration is that all of this corruption is changing as we are illuminating the darkness and awakening to our truth. This is pertinent to under-earning because under-earners are an untapped force to save humanity. Whether it's addiction, under-earning, or whatever past trauma that impacts how you create in the world and that feels like a limitation. Yet what if it is your FailSafe to help you awaken and remember your soul mission on earth? A FailSafe refers to a mechanism designed to prevent or mitigate the consequences of a failure or malfunction in another system. According to engineers, it acts as a safeguard, ensuring that if something goes wrong, there's a backup plan or a way to minimize potential harm or damage. What if under-earning or any addiction is not a hindrance, but a safeguard to ensure that when you're off track on your mission here on earth, that you're wired to seek divine support and tools so that you access your superpower? What if under-earning or any addiction is not a hindrance, but a safeguard to ensure you will not get off track to your mission here on earth? You're wired to seek the divine support and tools to ensure that you access your superpower. Consistently earning less than one's potential and struggling with money is an act of defiance of our truth, our connection to God, and the laws of the universe. If you don't believe me, check into your body. Anytime you've struggled with money or resisted taking the next inspired action, how does it feel? Our body is our emotional guidance system. If it felt empowering, it would feel good to your body. It would feel expansive and light. There is no judgment about whether you have 10 million or $1 in the bank. The universe sees it all as abundance. But the key is, how do you feel about your use of your inheritance, your gifts, your talents, your potential? Because your emotions and what is showing up in your external reality will give you clues to help you shift. In engineering, fail-safes are often built into the design of systems to prevent or mitigate these failures. So consider under-earning like an emergency shutdown procedure that blocks your flow of opportunities triggered by specific conditions when you're denying your truth and your purpose. So you become aware when you're off track so you can correct it. So if under-earning is a fail-safe to ensure you are on track to your life purpose, then earning less than one's skill sets and worth is both a debilitating condition in the access to one's superpower, the golden keys to the Father's kingdom. I know this to be true because every time I have hit a bottom in my life and surrendered, I experienced divine intervention and the grace to take the necessary steps to change my life. If under-earning is truly a strength, I invite you to tap into divine intelligence and ask God, divine, higher self, to tell you, how is this my superpower? If we are here to magnify the work and glory of the divine in this wondrous tapestry of God consciousness, then under-earning is like a snag in the woven fabric of our beingness that doesn't represent a flaw or some error in our making, but rather a snag that if we pull at it and let it unravel, our tapestry of abundance like a flag is unfurled. Under-earning represents a potency, not an error of God's making. It's like the glitch in our manifestation channel in the intersection of work and money and work. In this world of TikTok and 60-second superficial sound bites and the epidemic of narcissism across the gamut from clinical narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths who get off on manipulating others, or even the garden variety spiritual narcissist who wants to bypass the shadow work and acknowledging the ego. Under-earners, because of this condition, cannot afford to bypass this work. What if under-earners are the divine special forces, an elite team of light workers who are here to shift the planet? I envision a world where even 10% of under-earners, the writers, healers, massage therapists, teachers, artists, empaths, creators, visionaries, maybe even 100,000 souls who came here in mortal bodies to support this awakening, what if they decide to resolve this affliction, claim their worth, up-level their earning power, and share their gifts with the world? This is how we create a ripple effect on this planet and serve in facilitating this paradigm shift of consciousness on the planet. This is how we evolve and become free. If you liked this content and you want to hear more about how to break free from under-earning, go ahead and type in the comment below, "Be free," and I'll share the 5-step method in the next video.